Good Monday evening, everybody, and welcome to a special playoff edition of Panthers on the Plus. We are going to be coming at you every single night this week at 9 o'clock to break down the Panthers in their first playoff game since 2017, their first home playoff game since 2015. We will also have a live pregame and postgame show for you Saturday, bookending the 4:30 kickoff at Bank of America Stadium. Our first guest to kick us off this week on Panthers on the Plus is none other than my good friend Josh Graham. For the better part of the last decade, you could hear him in Winston-Salem on WSJS. Now he's big time. Westwood One Sports own Josh Graham. Josh, thanks for joining us. First of all, how and when can we listen to you here in Charlotte?
See, the reason that this all worked out now is because this is a lead-in to when I'm normally on 11 p.m. to 3 a.m. Wednesday through Friday as part of Westwood One Sports Night, the new lineup that Westwood One has rolled out. And then on the weekends, I'm on 4 to 7 p.m. Would assume that a lot of people will be busy between 4 to 7 p.m. on Saturday afternoon. So you get a pass this one time. And
we can hear you in Charlotte during the week, right? Overnight?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
For sure.
Awesome. All right, Josh.
Sirius 375.
Right. Okay, that's what channel 375. And you can also find him on X at Josh Graham Show. Josh, the Panthers backed their way into the playoffs, if you will. Does that matter at all?
It matters, just as long as you have the proper perspective of what this season is. If New Orleans beat Atlanta on Sunday, and Carolina isn't in the position where they're hosting a playoff game, we still should view this season as a great success. Going into the year, Carolina had not won more than 7 games since their last playoff appearance in 2017. And a lot of us were saying, you win 7, 8 games, that shows progress. And when you look at a lot of the decisions that the Panthers made in the front office, this was not an organization. They would never admit this because you don't want to admit publicly that you're not trying to win it all each and every year. But actions speak louder than words. When you let Adam Thielen go right before the season starts, when you let Jadeveon Clowney walk right after the draft because you drafted 2 edges in the 2nd and 3rd round, you are an organization that seems to be not in win now mode, angling towards the future. So a lot of people in that building have been circling 2026 as being a go year, and this year wanting to continue to make strides and show progress. And Carolina had already done that. The fact that they can do that and still host a playoff game, the first home playoff game since the NFC Championship in 2015, that's just icing on the cake, and that's the way it should be viewed.
You know, Dan Morgan was hesitant to say the words playoff in his preseason press conference, and here they are. When you look back at this team's offseason, what do you point to say that's what helped produce this moment right here?
Drafting Tetaroa McMillan. Everybody going into that draft was saying Carolina needed defense. That's what they needed to do. And heck, you need an edge rusher. Look at those 2 guys who are from the state of North Carolina available to you. Take one of those guys. Take James Pierce Jr. from Charlotte. Take Jalen Walker down the road in Salisbury. That's what you need to do. Fighting against that urge and going receiver for the 2nd straight year in the first round. It helped Bryce Young, but also it was Dan Morgan trusting his evaluation, where a lot of the reaction immediately, and I'll cop to this, it was my immediate reaction, it seemed that Carolina was reaching on Tetaroa McMillan. But then you hear Dave Canales that night, and they're talking about the really good defensive lineman from Michigan, Mason Graham, going in the top 5 to Cleveland. When that pick was taken, the way Dave Canales described it that night was there was relief, there was celebration in the Panthers war room. And if anybody would have heard that going into draft night, they'd be thinking, wait, I thought Mason Graham was the best case scenario for the Panthers. You're celebrating that he was just taken. That's how good you feel Tetaroa McMillan is. And they were absolutely right. And what a draft Carolina had when you really put all the details together.
They have still had ups and downs. How have you processed the work of Dave Canales and Bryce Young in their 2nd season together before we get into what they need to do in this playoff game?
When you're an organization that has had now 8 straight losing seasons, because 8 and 9 going to the playoffs, you got to learn how to win again. And it's a cliche. We don't need to go into all the Crash Davis, Bull Durham-like cliches. Do what's best for the ball club, and I'm just going to give it my all today. But one cliche that's true is you got to learn how to win in this league. And that means not just playing with a chip on your shoulder and learning how to win when maybe you're not supposed to, beating the LA Rams, beating the Green Bay Packers. But following the Packers game, we heard about how bad the practices were for Carolina going into that first Saints loss. And handling success sometimes can be more difficult than how to handle a tough loss from time to time. So it's just the signs of a team. And this goes back to the coaching staff too, that's still pretty new at this in the positions that they're in. Learning how to win in this league, learning how to be consistent week to week. The sign of that for a young team is you probably win some games you're not supposed to, and we described those, and you lost some games you probably should have won, and the 2 Saints games probably embody that best.
Having been around here as long as you have and speaking to the fan base at large across the state as long as you have, what's your sense of what this means? I know from a team perspective they can't be in the just happy to be here club, but it seems like it's just going to be a cathartic moment Saturday at kickoff at Bank of America Stadium.
It's just because of how bad it got and some of the lows. This team had the worst record in the NFL and didn't have a first overall pick to look forward to a couple of years back. And Bryce Young being benched and how things ended with Cam Newton and some of the ugliness there and all the beloved figures that are no longer part of this team and trading away Christian McCaffrey. Just when you take account of what the last 7 years was, this is why I don't want to hear one syllable from anybody this week saying that the Carolina Panthers are lucky. Oh, you're so lucky to win the division at 8 and 9. So lucky. Yeah. The team that experienced what Carolina experienced the last 7 seasons, you're going to call that lucky? That's kind of like if you saw a homeless guy on the street get somehow a free coffee at Starbucks and you point to him and say, you're so lucky that you got that. Whoa. We've been through some stuff, and Carolina deserves, and the fans deserve, what they're going to get Saturday afternoon, having that type of environment and getting a home playoff game.
Certainly the high point of the David Tepper era thus far after 8 years. Yeah. What was the low point? Like, what comes to mind as the lowest point? There's a lot to choose from.
I immediately, first snap thought was the San Francisco 49ers fans taking over the stadium, Matt Rule being fired the next day. And that probably was the lowest point, because at that point, we didn't get even the Steve Wilks moment, where Steve Wilks later that year had Carolina believing again. So that, to me, and then there's belief that comes along with getting a quarterback, and there were some small signs of belief on the way. I'd say the 2 lowest moments, if I had to attach another one, there's that one I just described, and then there's the loss to the LA Chargers to start 0-2 in 2024 when Bryce gets benched. When Bryce gets benched and Andy Dalton's your starting quarterback, there's a lot of thought of where's this thing headed and how can there be any level of a bright future without any confidence in that position.
Well, they have they're not at the mountaintop, but Josh, they are at least setting foot in the foothills at this point with this wild card weekend matchup. We're going to have much more with Josh Graham coming up. We're going to take a quick break here on Panthers on the Plus. Welcome back to Panthers on the Plus. Once again, we have a special episode coming your way every single night this week at 9 o'clock. Very special guests will be joining us, including Alex Zetlow from the Charlotte Observer, former Observer beat writer Jordan Rodrigue, now out west covering the NFL at large. She will join us on Wednesday night, and we've got more. But we have a very special guest to kick things off, Josh Graham, now with Westwood One Sports. But he hasn't forgotten us on his way up. He's still dialed into the Panthers and the entire NFL, and you can hear him on there now. Thrilled for you, Josh. And you were at the previous matchup against the Rams. What are your thoughts on the Panthers having to try and pull this upset off one more time?
Man, for Carolina to win that game, just think about the margins of what happened. You had a ball. Matthew Stafford broke the NFL record on the first drive of that series or of that game. Most consecutive touchdown passes without an interception. And then he went on to throw 2 more. Carolina needed a red zone deflection off Derek Brown's head that was picked off, a pick 6 of Stafford on the next series, and then Derek Brown strip sacking Stafford in the red zone up by 3 in order to figure it out. It might be why a lot of the odds makers aren't giving Carolina much of a shot here, to think that those things had to break your way and you won narrowly. They still had to get a first down in order to prevent Matthew Stafford from getting the ball back. But results are the results. Carolina won the game, and that makes this one even more intriguing.
I think there was hope that game would be a turning point to where Carolina could play consistent, complementary football the rest of the way. That has not happened, Josh, as you know. They are 1-3 since that moment. As you know, yin-yang and yo-yo as the season has been. They've now lost 2 consecutive games, and you just look at these two back-to-back games. Against the Seahawks, they have 54 passing yards, and against Tampa, they have 19 rushing yards. Do you have any confidence that Carolina and Dave Canales and Bryce Young and this offensive line and this group of skill players can do something offensively that resembles NFL playoff football this Saturday afternoon?
I think so, and I'd be interested. Dave Canales was talking about it on Monday that Robert Hunt might get back.
I think he was close last week, but they were hoping he would have this opportunity. So I think we're leaning that way.
You paid that man to help you run the football, and you do have, when Carolina's been at its best this year, when they had the 3-game winning streak, it was getting Rico Dowdle going. And when Carolina played the Rams, was that the game where we had the Chuba Hubbard chance? I think it might have
MVP
been,
chance. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Had 3 or 4 straight runs that were unbelievable.
So you have those guys, and you have potentially Robert Hunt added in there. I think that's where it has to start. But one thing we didn't even mention in talking about the small margins, not 1 but 2 4th down big-time passes from Bryce Young in that game too, including the one to Teterow and McMillan for the long touchdown. The Jalen Coker throw was outstanding as well.
Bryce Young, I mean, it seems like every week is a referendum on this guy and whether he's going to get the 5th-year option or the long-term extension. What have you made of his season so far, his future here, and how big this game may be for him?
Somebody needs to explain to me, like I'm 5, why anybody would take issue with him getting the 5th-year option. Because for those who don't know, a lot of people hear 5th-year option and they see the word extension and they think, oh, we're giving this guy a long-term deal and some of the things. No, these are 2 totally different things. If you give the guy the 5th-year option, it's 1 year worth $27 million.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, $27 million. $27 million among starting quarterbacks today would be 20th in the NFL. This is for the 2027 season, which means by the time we get there, given there are going to be more extensions doled out, that $27 million figure stays the same. More quarterbacks are going to make more, so that's probably going to be the 24th or 25th best salary in the NFL. You could be the biggest Bryce Young hater out there and still probably nod and say, 1 year at the 24th or 25th best rate in the NFL, yeah, we could probably sign up for that, especially when all the haters out there for Bryce Young can't tell me a better alternative. You tell me what it is where Carolina's drafting and what this quarterback class looks like ahead. You tell me when you look at the free agent class who the better option to Bryce Young is. So that doesn't make much sense. I will say this, though. It is a lot more fun to be doing these Panthers on the Plus chats with Nick Carboni, talking about a playoff game and talking about meaningful games than what the last 7 years have been, where it's like, well, do they need a quarterback? Oh, let's do the mock draft. Let's see who they're going to be taking 7th or 8th. But we've done that time and time again, and I don't know if anybody in the city of Charlotte has even pulled out a mock draft. I bet you no one can tell me off the top of their head right now without Googling where Carolina would be picking if they win or lose this game coming up this weekend. Well, if they lose. If they win, they're going to be picking 32nd before it's all said and done. Carboni. That's how this works. But anyway, this is a lot more fun.
What a professional plug for our show that you did while lending your time to this show. So I appreciate that. And by the way, they either pick 19th or if they win, they pick 25th. So I can give you that information. And yeah, who wants to jump back onto the quarterback carousel? I got more numbers for you, Josh. Between playoff games, the Panthers will have gone through 5 head coaches, including interims, and 10 different individual people starting at quarterback. Many of them significantly. So nobody wants to jump on that ride again, right?
Make the Browns quarterback.
Yeah, you could.
Jersey where
you could. You're almost there. Yep.
Oh, someone spot, and you can at me at Josh Graham Show because I won't be at the game, which is funny as hell because I covered the team full time from 2018 till the Tampa Bay game this
week
season.
16
so
this year. Yeah.
I didn't get one playoff game that I covered, not one, and then I'm going to be watching from home. For this one here, somebody at me the funniest jersey that shows up at this stadium. I want to see it. I want to see all the Steven Davises. I want to see all the Kurt Coleman's. I want to see all. Shout out to Kurt Coleman. That's not meant as a shot. The Akabatuka. Like, give me them all. That's what I want to see. Or even the obscure quarterbacks.
I did see a Shane Falco replacements jersey at the last game, and I had to look to see if he was one of the 10 guys I just mentioned that started for the Panthers in that stretch. But
David Geddes. That was another one I saw at the last home game. Shout out to David Geddes.
They're going to be everywhere. Josh, we'll wrap it up with this. I mean, this team is learning how to win, so they say. They do have veterans that have won Super Bowls with the Rams, believe it or not. But, this is an opportunity to reset, and everybody's record is the same despite the last 2 weeks. Do you, I guess, trust that this team can do that and kind of pick up where they left off in the last Rams game and not how they've played 3 of the last 4 weeks?
I do. This has been a really resilient team, and Carolina nearly won that football game on the road in Tampa. This is at home. There's been a good home team this year. So I do have some faith that Carolina's going to be able to get off the mat, and whatever the best version of their game is, they're going to show us that on Saturday. Is it good enough to beat the LA Rams? We'll all have to find out and see, but I am confident that this is a team that has demonstrated a lot of resiliency, and I'm going to go all Dave Canales cliche on you, say that they're going to focus on playing their best football. It's all about the ball after all, Nick Carboni.
It is all about the ball. Josh Graham, wonderful to talk to you. Wonderful to see you. I guess if you're not going to be at the press box Saturday, this is how we're going to have to do this for a while, but I hope to see you in person soon. Thanks for joining us here on Panthers on the Plus.
Thank you.
All right, you can find him on Westwood One Sports later this week and weekend. That is Josh Graham. We'll be right back on Panthers on the Plus. We're going to hear from the Panthers and the Rams about Saturday's wild card matchup. Welcome back to Panthers on the Plus. Big thanks to our friend Josh Graham, now of Westwood One Sports, for joining us to kick off a playoff week. And again, a reminder, we will be here every night at 9 o'clock with big-time guests talking about a big-time Panthers game, their first playoff game since the 2017 season. And we will have a pre- and post-game show live here on WCNC Plus, shouldering around Saturday's 4:30 kick against the Rams at Bank of America Stadium. So we're gonna end things here. This is our fourth quarter. Everybody put the 4 up, Jeb. We got to put the 4 up, and we're gonna dive into this matchup because now that the Panthers have clinched a spot, thank you Falcons, and the Rams know their playoff fate. They knew they were in. Now they're the 5 seed and coming here again. We did hear from both coaches and one quarterback this week so far. The Panthers, just to let you in a little bit, they will do their kind of normal Wednesday routine on Tuesday with the earlier game this weekend. And so we will hear from Dave Canales and Bryce Young tomorrow and pass those thoughts along. We did hear from Dave Canales because it is still Monday is still a Monday this week. We kind of have to go off that. And Dave Canales spoke this afternoon at the podium. Sean McVay and Matt Stafford, by the time they wrapped up their game against the Cardinals, that meant they were coming here, so they knew they were playing the Panthers. So let's hear from the Rams first on facing Carolina, which beat them in November here in Uptown on a rematch.
they're a great team. I mean, they beat us, and so we know how they played us. They did a great job of being able to earn that win a handful of weeks ago. We'll look at what's occurred in the in the meantime since we played them. Try to put together the best game plans we can to put our players in positions to go be successful, and we're coming out swinging, and that's what we're going to do, and we're going to do it one day at a time. And I'm not worried about anything else other than the Carolina Panthers. And if we earn the right to play after that, then we'll talk then. Okay? Thanks, guys.
Oh, yeah. Really good defense. Timely guys making big plays on offense for them, too, in the skill position area. So it'll be a big challenge. We didn't play as well as we can last time we went there. So we'll look at the tape, figure out how we can kind of be better from that game, from what they've been doing lately, just like they'll do to us, and go out there and the team that plays better, that day will win. And, we're going to do everything we can to try to make sure that's us.
All right, Matt Stafford, obviously, I would think his worst game of the year. I haven't totally tracked the statistics and all the others, but Josh Graham spoke about his streak of touchdowns with no interceptions heading into that game and to start that game, and then he throws a pick in the end zone, a pick six, and then fumbles to basically seal the game for the Panthers. On the flip side, Carolina's offense has really never looked more balanced or better this year. 3 touchdown passes for Bryce Young, 2 of them on 4th downs. He was 15 of 20 for 206 yards. A remarkably efficient performance in that game. Chuba Hubbard, Rico Dowdle, and Bryce Young combined for 164 rushing yards. That was their best performance of the last 5 games. And then Jalen Coker, 74 yards. Tetairoa McMillan had 1 catch for 43 yards, and it was that big 4th down touchdown to go ahead. They're going to need more from him, but he is looking like the clear-cut favorite for Offensive Rookie of the Year, only rookie receiver with 1,000-plus receiving yards this season, and breaking Kelvin Benjamin's franchise rookie record here in Carolina. Defensively, like we talked about, you had the interceptions from Nick Scott, Mike Jackson, the strip sack from Derek Brown. Lathan Ransom had a sack and a tackle for loss in that game, so they were able to get some pressure on the quarterback, especially when it mattered. But, the Panthers, they've kind of got a balance. Happy to be here again with Let's Go Win a Football Game. Here's a portion of Dave Canales' Monday morning press conference.
And we're just really excited and grateful, fortunate to be in this position. Really proud of this group, really proud of the coaching staff, everybody involved, the players, coming together and, really finding a style of football that put us in position. And, while we're sitting around waiting for, the outcome of the Falcons and Saints game, at the same time, it's just a lot of hard work put into this season and taking advantage of those championship moments along the way. And here we go. We have another one right in front of us. Just really excited about being back in Bank of America Stadium one more time. We left this stadium after the Seahawks game. Not sure if we're going to get another opportunity, but to have one more chance in front of our fans with the energy that it was like, especially down the stretch this season, it's a really exciting opportunity for us, and we're excited for it.
We'll kick things off with
All right, so that was the sentiment from Dave Canales on Monday afternoon. A little bit different than his kind of general demeanor Sunday evening when we spoke to him right after the Falcons beat the Saints to send the Panthers into the playoffs. It was great. He called us from home. He had been on the couch with the family watching the game. At one point, his brother even called after the D. Alford interception and said, "Congratulations." And Dave was like, "No, dude, you got to call me back. This game isn't over." And it clearly wasn't, because the Saints had another score, an onside kick attempt. But those Dirty Birds, they held on. And for his trouble, Falcons coach Raheem Morris got fired on Sunday evening. So the Falcons are looking for a new coach. We will see what happens with Tampa Bay and Todd Bowles. It really seems like it could go either way on that one as we record this Monday afternoon. So if it's changed since then, forgive me on that one. But the NFC South is still up for grabs next year, I think. I'm not sure the Panthers are going to be clear-cut favorites after backing their way in, but they were 3-1 against the teams that were tied atop the division. They swept the Falcons, should have beat the Saints at least once, and they split with the Bucs, who seem to be losing their grip on the division and obviously have this year. But what's important now is the LA Rams Saturday afternoon at 4:30, and like I said, we are getting you ready every step of the way each day here at 9 o'clock on Panthers on the Plus here on WCNC Plus. A lot of great guests coming your way. Hope you join us each night. We'll see you then.